Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So a few hours ago, I looked at the remaining 4 House races that were left in the state of California. These states were coming out of the districts down here near Los Angeles, California 13, California 9, and California 21. There are still 4 remaining House races on the United States outside of California, one in Iowa, one in Ohio, one in Maine, and one in Alaska. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this video into 2 parts, where I'm going to focus on Iowa and Ohio in this video. In my next video, I'm going to have Maine and Alaska be in that video. Because in both cases for Maine and Alaska, these both have to do with ranked choice voting, whereas Ohio and Iowa, they do not. So I'm going to split these up and just talk about them separately. So I'm looking at Iowa and Ohio, 2 Midwestern states with very, very close House races at this time. And what I'm going to do now is show you the House map of 218 Republicans to 209 Democrats. I'm going to go into the states and the districts themselves and show you the up-close numbers. So starting with Ohio. Ohio, the 9th Congressional District, is the one that is too close to call right now. This has Democratic incumbent Marcy Kaptur leading over Republican challenger Derek Merrin, 48.14 to 47.82. So very, very close, and also reported over 95% of the vote in. So we're not totally sure how many votes remain. We can only assume it's anywhere between 5% and 1% of the vote remain left to be counted. On the high end, if it's 5% of the vote remaining, that's about 18,000 votes left to count in Ohio, in this district. So 0.5 is about 18,000 votes. If you do 1% of the vote remaining, it'd be about 3,600 votes. 2% of the vote remaining would be about 7,300 votes. 0.3 would be about 10,000, 11,000 votes. So depending on where the range is, there is enough votes outstanding still to make this race go from Democrat lead to Republican lead. So there are enough votes out there based on the 366,000 votes that have been reported. There are enough votes with only 1% of the vote remaining to flip this margin of a 1,200 vote lead for the Democrat over the Republican. The question now is, does that happen, and how and where? Well, it needs to be noted that the Democratic incumbent has a lead right now of about 1,200 votes. The Libertarian candidate is getting 4% of the vote and about 14,800 votes. So this is a situation where I don't think either candidate, once all the votes are all reported, neither candidate is going to break 50% of the vote, and the Libertarian candidate will be playing spoiler in this race. But looking at the counties now in the district, or the districts in this district, we're going to look at where the votes are and where the numbers potentially could be. With over 95% of the vote in Defiance County, the Republican is leading 65 to 31. In Williams County, the Republican is leading 68 to 27, also 95% of the vote in. Fulton County, 65 to 31, the Republican is leading there, 95% in. Lucas County, this is where the city of Toledo is, the Democrats leading 57 to 38 with over 95% of the vote in. Wood County, over 95% of the vote in, the Republican has a lead of just 1%. Ottawa County, the Republican with 95% in is leading 56 to 40. Sandusky County, the Republicans leading 59 to 37. And in Erie County, the Republicans leading 51-45. So in every instance, there's over 95% of the vote in all of these counties. So the question is, how much vote remains to be counted in these areas? And that's where the question really ends up coming from. At over 95% in, we're not going to get too many more votes really out of Defiance County, maybe a few hundreds of votes, but not too many. Williams County, same thing, maybe a few hundreds of votes. Fulton County, a few hundreds of votes. Lucas County, if any votes come in, this is going to be the largest county. This is the largest county in this district. It's also the most Democratic county of this district. So if any votes are going to be coming in out of Lucas County at all, this is where we're going to be looking at thousands of votes, potentially a few thousands, like 3,000 to 4,000 votes coming out of Lucas County, which if that were to happen, that would be enough to boost Kaptur's lead in this Democratic area, when the other surrounding areas are just not populous enough to help the Republican out as much as Lucas County. Wood County, for instance, you might get a few hundreds of votes left, but again, that wouldn't really make up the margin of Lucas. Ottawa, again, a few hundreds of votes. Sandusky, a few hundreds of votes. And Erie County, a few hundreds of votes. The question really at the end of the day is just how much of that 5% of the vote is still out there. It's over 95%. We know that. But is there 1% remaining? Is there 2%? And where is it coming from? Because the Republican can gain votes in every single one of these Republican counties. And if there's no county or no votes left in Lucas County, the Republican could win. The question is, if there's any votes left in Lucas County, the margins are likely going to be too much and the raw vote numbers will be too much that it will probably overpower any vote the Republican gets from Fulton, Williams, Wood, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Erie combined. The question will be, also, there's right now about a 35,000 vote gap in Lucas County over the Democrat over the Republican. Unless that goes down drastically, if more votes are reported, any vote total out of Lucas County will likely benefit the Democrat. So that would again be very, very detrimental for the Republican candidate. So we're looking at this one very closely. The Republican is hoping all the votes are coming out of these red areas and not out of Lucas County. The Democrat is hoping if there isn't a vote left, it's all coming out of Toledo. This is a close one to watch. There's enough votes for this to go one way or the other. I think the Democrat is going to narrowly hold on right now, but this is certainly very, very close and likely in recount territory. So that's where things stand right now in the Ohio 9th District. Very, very close race. Enough votes for this race to go either way. Looking like the Democrat as a lead to hold on there. Looking at Iowa's 1st District, I mean, this one is so incredibly close. And this is one where right now, the Republican incumbent, Marionette Miller Meeks, has 50.1%. The Democratic challenger, Christina Bohannon, has 49.9%. A vote difference of 800 votes. This one is so incredibly close. And really, with over 413,000 votes left, again, it depends how much votes are out there. Because at 95% of the vote in, if 5% of the vote remains in this district, that could be over 20,000 votes that remain. If only 1% of the vote remains, that would also be enough to flip the numbers, where the 1%, would be about 4,100 votes. So there's enough, even if only 1% of the vote remains, there's enough votes to flip this margin of victory, in theory. The question is, where are the votes left out there? Well, looking at all these districts, Warren County 95% in, Marion 95% in. These are the numbers: 56-44. Marion 65-35. Jasper 58-42, 95% in. Mahaska 70-30, 95% in. Keokuk, I'm definitely going to pronounce that wrong, 69-31. Iowa County 59-41. Washington 58-42, 95% in. Johnson County 71-29, 95% in. Muscatine County 53-47, 95% in. Cedar County 95% in, 57-43. Jones 58-42, 95% in. Jackson 58-42, 95% in. Clinton County 54-46, 95% in. Scott County 51-49, 95% in. Then going down these districts, Louisa 64-36, 95 in. Henry 95 in, 63-37. Jefferson 51-49, 93 in. Van Buren 72-28, 93 in. Lee County 58-42, 95 in. And Des Moines 52-48, 93 in. So every county is over 95% of the vote reporting. So that is definitely significant, but it's also worth noting that, as I mentioned, if there's only 1% of the vote left, which we don't know because it's over 95% in, so we don't know how much of the vote actually remains. We can only assume it's somewhere between 5% and 1%. On the low end across this district, if it's 1% of the vote remaining, that's about 4,000 votes. So is there enough of a margin of the 4,000 votes for the Democrat to be able to overtake the Republicans' margin of 800 vote lead? The answer is yes. Of the 4,130 votes, the Democrat would have to beat about 3,200 votes. The Democrat would need to get 3,200 votes. The Republican would have to get about 800, 900 or so votes. So mathematically, it is possible. The question is where the vote's coming from. And looking at this district, the largest area we have is Scott County, where the city of Davenport, Iowa is. That one is going Democratic 51-49 with a margin of about 2,000 votes. If there's any more votes out of that area, then potentially there could be a few more hundreds of votes out of here that can cut that 800 vote margin down. Looking at some other areas though, not seeing many large Democratic area. I'll go through the Republican areas as well, but the only other large Democratic area is Johnson County, which this is a margin of about 30,000 or so votes. So there is enough Democratic votes here in Davenport, Scott County combined to flip that margin from the Republican lead to the Democratic lead. The question is there enough votes when all the other Republican counties are combined? The Republican counties are smaller than these Democratic areas, but they do add up. Jackson County, maybe like a few more, like 100 votes or so. Jones County, a few more, like 100 votes. Cedar County, 100 votes. Clinton County, maybe a little bit more. Muscatine, about another 100 votes or so. Iowa, probably less than that. Washington, same thing, maybe like 100 votes. Keokuk, less than 100. Mahaska, maybe around 100. Marion County, a little over 100 votes maybe. Jasper, a little over 100 votes, 200 votes. Warren County, probably about 300 votes. Van Buren, less than 100, probably like 50 to 100 votes. Lee County, about 150, 200 votes there. So there are enough votes out there in these Republican areas that essentially make up the margins of what the Democrat would get in Johnson County and Scott County. But again, it depends if there's the same amount of votes out there in every district. Again, 95% in, we don't know. There could be no more votes to come out of this district. There could also be more votes to come out. We're not going to know until it's official and 100% of the votes are in. With over 95% of the vote in, though, an 800 vote lead for the Republican, I think you would rather be the Republican than the Democrat, but it depends. If there's any more Democratic votes to come out of Johnson County or Scott County, there are enough for the Democrat to take the lead. The question remains, is there any votes remaining left? This is a very, very tight one we have to watch going forward, because if there is any vote dumps at all out of this district, it might flip which candidate is leading right now and which candidate is not. Because again, 413,000 total votes cast, only a lead of 800 votes. This is an incredibly close district and one that could flip literally at any second, depending on if any votes are remaining. So this is very, very, very close. So that's really all I have to say about Iowa's 1st district. Other than that is, if all the votes are in, obviously the Republican would win by 800 votes, an incredibly, incredibly close election. Definitely going to be a recount at 0.2% margin of victory. But if there are any more votes to come out, there are enough Democratic votes to flip this margin. The question is, are there more Republican votes to meet it as well? So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. But definitely a very close election. So again, right now Republicans are at 218 House races. Democrats are at 209. If both of these races hypothetically went for the Democrats, it wouldn't be enough to flip the House majority, but it would be very helpful for the Democrats in essentially stopping the Republicans from getting a lot of legislation done unless the Republicans are in 100% agreement among every representative in their caucus, which usually doesn't happen. There's usually disagreements when in a very divided House, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So I've now done a video on California's House races, on Iowa and Ohio's. My next video is going to focus on Maine's 2nd district and Alaska at large. Both of them have something to do with ranked choice voting, so I'm going to check in on those in the next video in a few hours. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give the video a like, click subscribe to my channel, and tap the bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos so you never miss a video that I put out. And also in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really, really, really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.